Dan Petersen, principal at Turner Elementary. I'm joined with Molly Hunsaker, who is the administrative assistant and an amazing partner. So Molly has, well, you can describe your family because you are a perfect representation of this district, I feel like.
Yeah, so I work for the district, but I also have a child that will be a sophomore in high school, a freshman in high school who's on an IEP, a 7th grader, and then my youngest will be a 5th grader here at Turner. So, really exciting school year, but definitely as a parent, tons of questions that I'm sure many of you have wanted answered and have sent in, so we're really appreciative of all those questions that have been sent our way so that we can answer those and help everybody know and have a better understanding of what this school year is going to look like.
Yeah, so Molly's going to play the part of not only a school representative, but as a parent. And she and I have had many of the same conversations about the same questions as you wrote. Let me just start with this. The last conversation I want to have with families is what I'm about to have. There's no way that distance learning is what's best for kids. We're going to make the best of it. I think we're going to do as good as we possibly can. Every single thing we've ever done at Turner Elementary, the parents and the community have been amazing partners. So I know collectively we will make this as good as it possibly can be. But I can't even tell you how disappointed I am to think of starting the school year and not standing out in front and greeting the kids as they come in, having lunch with the kids, and on and on and on. Soccer games, that gets me out of paperwork. So I don't even know what I'm going to do for recess. But it's where we're at. So Molly's going to ask questions, and we really haven't rehearsed this or practiced. And we've done that intentionally because I want to treat this just like a conversation. So.
All right, so one of the first questions is, what are the options for us to come back to school? Like, there's been talk of a CDL and online, so what are those and what are the differences between those?
So I'll focus more on the comprehensive distance learning, or CDL, because if you do nothing other than register your kids, you will automatically be in the CDL. That's the one that's going to be best for most kids. The online program is basically, you're accessing their education, or the families are accessing the education on your own. You're just opening it up and going through lessons as fast as you want, as slow as you want. And the online program can create some problems if you're not systematically checking off the progress. So the comprehensive distance learning program will include live lessons from the teacher. The classes will vary depending on the day. Almost always it'll be math and reading. There'll be sciences some days, social studies other days. In the afternoon, and I'm really excited about this, is students can access classes like keyboarding, book clubs. Gosh, I don't know. We're even dreaming of art and so a lot of variety in the afternoon.
It's almost like electives for like middle school, like they can pick and choose, and are those required, those sorts of things, or are those just extras to keep them engaged and able to, meet with peers and things as well online?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like electives, and
Cool.
Kids can access those if they want to. Yeah. It's not required, but it's our attempt at bringing this alive. It's our attempt at kids going, oh, I can't wait to read with this student, this teacher or the staff member, or PE, and the part that I am excited about also is we're talking about doing all elementaries. So it might be a teacher that is predominantly at Almsville, but we can access whatever they're doing. And so I think we'll get a lot of variety. But it's all a work in progress. And if I can be honest with you, and I think everybody knows I'm usually honest with you, I'm talking about something that we haven't been trained in yet. I've read a ton of it. I was up in the middle of the night last night because that's what happens to me sometimes, and I'm reading every review I possibly can on the program, but I have not been trained in it, and nor is anybody. So what I know of it, I'm excited about.
So when you're talking about the program, the CDL program, the school's PLP program that the district has purchased, that all the elementary schools will be using, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's called Schools PLP, and
then as a parent, I'm understanding that the junior high is also using that program. So since I'm in that category where I have kids at elementary and kids in junior high, that's one platform that I can use for at least 3 of my kids, right?
That's exactly right.
Perfect.
Yeah, Schools PLP will go K through 8.
We talked about the CDL, which is going to be under the school's PLP platform, and then you talked about teachers giving live instruction. So I think a big question for parents too in choosing between the programs is my kid, what is the attendance going to look like? If they don't check in for that, live session with the teacher, are they marked absent? Will that count against them in attendance? If they check in just a little bit late, are they going to be tardy? How is the school tracking attendance, since that seems to be a bigger portion than it was in the spring? It's more important this year.
Yeah, the Oregon Department of Education put attendance in as a big component of this one. So yes, there's more accountability for sure. I just sat this morning with a parent who had a conversation with me. She and her husband work during the day. That keeps coming up. There's no way their student is going to be access anything, in the morning time. And with Schools PLP and our comprehensive distance learning, you actually have 24 hours from when the lesson is posted to access that program. So you could do it at night for sure. You could do it in the early morning, and that counts as attendance. So if you, I'll read what we actually put down, and that's, attendance will be taken every day, but there's a lot of flexibility. So a student is marked present for the day if they attend a live session, or they communicate with the teacher via an email, a phone call, a parent talks to the teacher, or an instructional assistant on the phone, or the student turns in completed work during that day. Any communication, any interaction with Schools PLP and or the school will indicate will be marked, the present. Okay. So,
and then if my child is actually physically sick, unwell, do I call the school and just let them know my kid's sick today? They're not going to be in checking into their class or something like that, or maybe I'm going on vacation, not during the school year, but so still, once again, I would call into the school and let them, or send an email and let them know my child, please mark them absent, and give the school the reason.
The school district has not defined that yet,
okay.
Although I think anytime, if we just don't want kids disappearing, and we want to make sure we hold these kids accountable as best we possibly can, just so we can help. And so, yes, if your child's not going to be accessing the distance learning, please communicate with us somehow. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Another question is, so how and when will we find out our child's homeroom teacher? So will kids be just all fifth graders are checking in with any teacher, or are we actually going to be dividing students up in to have an actual homeroom teacher this year?
Yeah. By the end of next week, somebody will have communicated to you who your child's teacher is. Okay. So probably Friday. We have that all blocked off to make phone calls home and start the process of building a classroom as best we can, a virtual classroom. And so yes, you'll know by next week, and that's K through 5. We'll have divided up some.
Last year in the spring there were meals. Will meals be available again this year, breakfast and lunch, and how will that look? So
in the spring it was anybody from 1 to 18 could access for free, and they just hand it to you as you drove up. At the moment, and I got to emphasize everything is at the moment because it keeps changing. But at the moment, it's any Cascade student that's in school can access it. If you are on free and reduced, it continues that way. If you typically pay for the meals, then that would be required also. And you, you can probably answer it better. Go online and pay.
Yeah, so all the schools within the district have mealtime online, so you can input money or deposit money into your child's account. So I'm guessing then when they come through the school to pick up their lunch/breakfast, I think it's all going to be in one, like they did in the spring, hopefully, then they'll just mark you down that you've gotten that meal for the day. So I could come here for my high school, junior high, and my elementary kid.
Hey, so Mr. Comstock just showed up, and I asked him if he'd have a seat. And so he has no idea, or had no idea, that we'd be doing this. I was just explaining that we're going to put together electives, and kids from across the district, elementary kids across the district, will be able to access what you're doing in PE and join with you. They don't have to, but it'd just be hey, I feel like a brain break and doing. Can you imagine doing that actually?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think we'll talk about it, but there's gonna be. I think we can come up with a lot of fun ideas, a lot of good activities they can do at home with or without any equipment. Even we'll get them. I'll make sure they're entertaining, and not boring at all. We'll talk and figure out what kind of equipment we can get kids, because I feel like if they had a jump rope at home, that would be huge. We could do a lot there. We could, ball or, I think there's a lot we can do. I think we'll make it good no matter what. Yeah,
that's cool, because so you literally could do a jump rope club. It could be virtual.
Easy.
Kids can drive by, pick up a jump rope, and then that's your club.
There we go.
Right?
We can learn to juggle. We can,
Yeah.
There's, I've been talking with a friend, and our goal over the next couple of years is to hike at least the Oregon portion of the Pacific Crest Trail. So maybe we get pedometers and kids are hiking and tracking how far they've hiked along the Pacific Crest Trail.
Yeah.
Some activities like that I think could be a lot of fun and educational too.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're put in this situation. We're going to make the best of it.
We will do it better than anybody, I guarantee.
Yeah, that's cool. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's kind of energy we always get. I mean, she sees it, and people come in, and we just talk for a few minutes, and we're like, okay, So, because I was telling people, it's not what any of us want, but it's what we have, And the nice part about like the jump rope club or keyboarding or juggling or book club, it'll all be videotaped. So there'll be a live portion of it. There'll also be a videotape portion, and kids can access it anytime they want.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. But the live piece, if they can access it, it'll be fun for kids to, connect. Fun for you to interact with a group, and so that's good.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for dropping in
Happy to be here.
and just asking.
In the spring there were paper packets available. Will there be paper packets available for students to do this year?
Mm-hmm. So going back to, we haven't been trained on it. So I don't want to say something or offer something that may or may not be accurate. So this is what I understand. Most of what is assigned in schools PLP can be done on the computer. So largely it could be paperless. I also understand that some families prefer to have packets. Mm-hmm. And I guess my commitment is, once we get this going, once we understand exactly what we're working with, and so next week we'll know a whole lot more, If packets are better, we'll print some packets. If parent just needs a few, we'll print them. That's the commitment, in this district, and that's whatever needs to be done, we're going to get it done.
Okay.
So yes, there may be some printing, and we can handle that. And there may be a pickup time. I suspect there will. I know I was talking to the kindergarten teachers yesterday and earlier this last couple weeks, and we're talking about maybe for kindergarten putting together a toolkit and getting that out to families. Whether parents come here or the teacher goes there, we'll make it work.
Okay. So with that, what supplies do you think families will need or what would you recommend for this at-home learning that's going to take place September 8th?
Well, this whole program is contingent on having good internet, a device to interact, ideally a camera, and a computer that has good audio.
Do you think headphones would be recommended? I'm thinking I probably should get my kids some headphones now, because if they're all on their devices and there's other things going on in the house or someone else is talking, maybe that would help them focus in on their lesson for the day.
Teachers have mentioned that in the spring, that kids that had headphones, and especially some of the headphones that had a microphone built in, seemed to interact better, less distraction.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then maybe I might get my kids, like, a little notebook and some pencils, so that way if they're in the middle of a class, if they wanted to take a note or jot something down, they could do that while they're in the middle of their lesson with their teacher, or watching the video late at night when we get home from work.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
I think that's reasonable, yeah.
All right, and so then you just touched on the need of a device like a Chromebook and a camera and those sorts of things. So in the spring, the district gave those things out. Will that be happening again? Will Chromebooks be available for families, and how do families let the district know that they need that sort of support?
Hopefully, if you need anything at all, you've accessed the technology survey that it's on the district website or the district social media page, I believe, and so just click on the link and it'll go through, ask you what you need. And the district is committed to providing Chromebooks to families. There's, just like everything, there's been a delay in the shipment of some of the Chromebooks that we were anticipating, and so they've kind of walked back the one per every kid to up to 2 per household while we get through this.
So if families are filling out that survey and they have a computer, but let's say dad's working from home and he's using that computer, should parents say, yeah, I have a computer, or should they say, no, we're going to need one if dad's going to be working all day on that computer?
Yeah, I definitely err on the side of getting as much as you need.
Okay.
Yeah, ideally, kids would have access as needed.
Okay. And then with that, I know there's families in the community that don't have access to internet or reliable internet for that fact. So is there hotspots? Will those be available this year? And is that something that's mentioned on that technology survey?
Yeah, that's also in the technology survey. So if you don't have reliable internet or any at all, the district has some hotspots that they are loaning out. And so for sure, come up with it. I know some of the companies are providers are doing some really creative things to help families out. So pretty inexpensive internet access. So
yeah, I want to say I feel like last year in the spring, Wave Broadband offered like a special deal or a lower deal dollar amount for families that needed it, and I think there might have been some paperwork to provide, but so you're talking about things. All right, so let's get into kids at different levels. So one of the questions from a family is, what are the pros and cons of both learning programs, distance versus online, for students who are academically advanced?
So schools PLP, again, I haven't gone through it. I don't want to promise something I can't deliver, but from what I have seen, Schools PLP does a pretty good job of differentiating within the program. So let's say the lesson is on fractions. There'll be the introductory piece that the classroom teacher will give, that live instruction, or you can access it later. And Schools PLP also has a video with animated characters that'll teach a similar concept. So your child could access either one of those or both, and then go into the lesson. And there's an extended part. So if your kid blows through that and they fully understand the concepts clearly, the extended part may be a better option, and the classroom teacher will be able to help with that. So there's a lot of differentiation within that. There's also a portion in Schools PLP that has kids practice the skill a little more, and so if they struggle with it, there's that piece as well. So it's supposed to cover all of that.
Okay.
And again, I'm going to just say the commitment, with teachers is, if Schools PLP does not do a great job of something, we will.
Okay.
So you can count on, the classroom teacher adding to it or taking away or changing something.
Okay.
We're going to do everything we can.
All right, so that kind of brings me to another question from a parent. How will you be providing IEP services during comprehensive distance learning? I have a junior high and an elementary student both on an IEP. Will they be able to go into the school to receive these direct services?
So let me start with the last part of that. Will they be able to go into the school and receive the service? If it was up to me, this school would be full.
Yeah.
Of supporting kids. With everything right now, there's a liability component that has to be in place first. So the district is committed to getting kids in here as soon as possible for situations just like that. Although the timeline appears to be late September.
So at this time, no kids will be coming into the school on campus to receive services.
That's where we're at the moment.
Okay.
And hopefully that changes quickly somehow. But to answer the first part of that question, the case managers and or the assistants and the SPED staff here, I mean, they're very, very talented. So someone will be reaching out, talking about how we're going to provide services, how we're going to support the kids. So
Okay.
yeah, they'll be hearing from us, and we'll do everything we can. So.
Okay. So I guess you may have kind of talked about this already then. So will small groups be allowed back at school, and K through 3? Yeah, I guess you kind of did already say that about them being able to come back possibly October, but I guess that's hinging upon metrics being met by and being approved by the governor, Oregon Health Authority, and the Oregon Department of Education, correct?
Yeah, in a perfect world, we'd get to decide everything within our district, but we are bound by the metrics that cover all of Marion County.
Okay.
And so once the COVID cases drop certain level, we'll be allowed to get kids back in here. But details of that are long, so we'll leave it at that.
All right. So when face-to-face learning does happen, will everyone be wearing masks inside the classroom, aside from cafeteria and eating, of course?
So when we thought kids were going to be coming back to school just a few weeks ago, and kids, from age 5 and up were told they needed to wear masks, except for the exception you mentioned. I don't know where we'll be. Things change all the time. So it's Oregon Health Authority makes that decision. Oregon Department of Education supports it, tells us what we can and can't do. So I don't,
So we'll have another conversation later when we get closer to opening back up about what that will look like for students coming in the building.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just don't know.
All right. Let's see. So since it doesn't sound like schools are allowed to have kids back in, will there be any sort of after-school programs or childcare provided?
So there are a couple of childcare options, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know, like if they have openings and where they're at.
Yeah, they weren't affiliated with the ones that we had kids go to last year. They weren't affiliated with the school district, so
Yeah.
it was a private entity that was running those.
Yeah, and we try and support them and help parents. We have kids that even ride a bus to that location or those locations, both locations. So, there's those options for childcare, but that's, until then, I know the conversation I was having just this morning with another parent was talking about childcare, and this mom was talking about the pod that her kids are going to be part of in the morning, and I know parents are doing some really creative things to try and help kids, and I support that and more than happy to help as we can.
But what about socially? How are we going to help students who are struggling socially? Will counselors be available, and how can parents access those people to get help for their children?
Mr. Catna does an amazing job of being available, and an email to him, email to me, and I'll make sure he's in contact. Creating a virtual culture, a place that's safe and happy for kids, it's tricky. But it's been largely done. There's plenty of examples, and that's part of what we'll talk about next week is, how do we make a place where kids feel like they can be social and not be together.
All right, so we have a bunch of incoming kindergartners this year, and this is probably not how they imagine their first child who's going into kindergarten, their school year would look. So how are we going to help those families and their kindergartners transition into this online learning and meeting their teacher and building that relationship?
So again, by the end of next week, they'll have been contacted by the kindergarten teacher to start that going. There'll be a virtual home visit that they'll set up, and hopefully create, the comfort that once we are live, it's a really seamless and natural piece to come back together. We're going to work on it, and I don't want to overpromise something, but I feel for kindergarten parents. I have a granddaughter who's 4, and if she were starting this, I would feel the same way, parents do. It's not what we wanted, but hopefully this school will be full of the buzz of kids here soon.
All right, one of the questions from a family was, how many hours do you expect students will be online doing this new online program, the CDL, per day?
So within every single classroom, in every lesson, some kids need a ton of support, some kids only need a little bit of support. So I can tell you that there's a plan for the teacher to be available hour and a half at least, but kids don't have to access that for that period of time. So if they come in, and again, going back to the fraction lesson, if kids come in and they understand it right away, then there's no reason for them to continue staying online with the teacher live. They should just go right to the lesson and work on it. And so let's say they do that, and then they struggle on something. The teacher's still online. They can bounce right back in. It sounds like we're going to use Google Meets, and that's real simple to just bounce right back into that. room and say to the teacher, hey, can I get some help on this particular one? And by the way, when I say teacher, our instructional assistants, we call them teachers also. I mean, you're as much a teacher as you are administrative assistant too. So someone will be available to help and be able to take a look at what they need.
Okay.
So how much time? For some, I imagine they're going to need a lot of that time with the teacher, and others will need very little.
Okay.
Yeah, because screen time is a big deal, right? I mean,
Yeah. I think that's the worry is, when you talk about a school day, the worry I feel like, or at least for me, is are my children all needing to be on a screen from 7:50 in the morning to 2:15 in the afternoon? For me, that's not what I want my kids doing. That's not school, but I know we're in this situation and they do need to be online to be getting some sort of education. So that reassures me knowing that they need to check in for that amount of time and they can do it kind of at when works best for them and our family. So that gets that apprehension a little lower, so that's good.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think you kind of touched on this just a little bit. Will it be Turner teachers teaching CDL and online? So I think you kind of mentioned that it will be teachers and it will be staff that will be teachers mostly presenting those lessons. And then for the online portion, there'll be, if parents opt for that option, then that will be someone else, not necessarily their grade level teacher, but will that be like a teacher from within the school that will be overseeing the online only?
Yeah, so if somebody chooses the online portion of it, and again, as I mentioned before, we're going to assume you're doing CDL. So if you do nothing at all, we'll assume you're going to do the CDL, which is perfect. That's what's best, I think, for most of the kids. But if you do the online part, there'll be I don't know who yet, somebody from the district.
Okay.
Probably won't be a Turner teacher, but yeah. The other piece that I don't know if I hit earlier necessarily, but for the parents whose kids don't access this until later, so your child's classroom teacher might have already finished their work day, and the kid gets on at say 6:30 and needs some help. We will have somebody available. So you can quick email and they'll call you right up or email you back or do a live presentation on how to do something. So we're going to support parents in the evening too. We're going to do whatever it takes.
Okay. Another question: how can parents and the community support you and the school?
Support me personally?
Well, you, the school. I mean, in general, how can we all get through this together?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned at the very beginning, there's nothing that we've ever done at Turner Elementary that has not been the whole concept of we're in this together, which, by the way, that was our theme way before. Okay, just making that clear. Yeah, we were the original, yeah. I love when I see people and talk and work things out that way. So if there's frustration, let's handle it that way. Let's have conversations. Let's talk. Turner, the community, it's just been a really healthy place to be, and I would hate for anything to be divisive. And so this program, same way. If it's frustrating or it's not working for some reason, boy, please reach out and let's you keep hearing about giving grace and flexibility and things like that. I don't think I have to ask for it because everybody just seems to do it. The staff, the families, the community, and I appreciate it, but thank you. And I look forward to it continuing that way.
So another question that families have, and even my family, if let's say my 5th grade teacher is online at 9 a.m. and my freshman also has a live thing at 9 a.m., how is that going to work? Are these things going to be staggered during the day, or are they going to be recorded so that way my kid can access it when it works best for our family and the structure that we have going on? Yeah,
so I can't you can't avoid high school and elementary moments where it comes at the same time.
Okay.
Exactly. But what we can do is, for elementary families for sure, and we have done, is, we've built a daily schedule that I realize you can't see, but you can see it staggered. So the online portion will start at different times. And we're trying to condense all of it down so parents don't have to have your kids check in and out like 4 different times in elementary. It's all going to be during one session. And then, yes, then you could move to another at a different time. So you wouldn't be fighting over that same time period. And yes, it'll all be recorded. So in the event it does collide, somebody can access it later, and yeah, no problem.
Another question I have is, Mr. Petersen, who wins in a virtual football game, Ducks or Beavers?
Who wins in a virtual football game, Ducks or Beavers?
Yeah, we've gone virtual with
Yeah.
pretty much everything, so here we are, virtual games.
It doesn't really matter because it's not track and field.
Oh,
So if it was a track meet, that's a different conversation, and I could address that. But this doesn't really matter.
okay.
Is that a political
the
answer?
answer.
No. So,
Yeah.
hey, see our new shirts? Just can I lapse into something for fun here? So yeah, this is our Turner Elementary look, and we will have shirts for kids and families and available. So anyway, yeah, that's the new look. And we continue with our theme, preparing, caring, and daring. And this is not just for the kids. This is certainly for the staff as well. And we will be prepared. And we'll care. And I know you do too. And it's the daring piece, really, that is going to separate how well we do with this for all of us. And again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support of the community along the way. And everybody has confidence we'll do it, and we'll do everything we can to make this as good as possible.
Okay.
So.
One thing I wanted to add, if you had a question that we did not answer, please get a hold of us and let us know so we can try and get you some answers that will help you navigate these times. And also, no question is a silly question. I've had lots of parents call and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I have this question, and I just keep telling them, none of us have done this before, so I would love people to just call, and I would like to give those answers. Don't feel like you can't call and you can't ask those questions, because it's something brand new that we've never done before, and we just want to help each other out. So please call, please ask those questions.
Yeah, exactly. And if we don't know the answer, hopefully we'll know it soon.
Yeah.
So good. Thanks, you guys.